I mean, if someone left my house and came back with a kid, I would have many questions, like, where's the milk, you know?
Where's the milk? His leg hits the ground, just snaps all the way the wrong way, and when it, like, you know, unbends, and he's looking at it, and he's like, oh my god, my leg, you can see the bone just sticking out of his leg.
I'm gonna be like, you need to take care of that.
You gotta get that away from me.
And I don't know why you came to me, because I'm about to throw up in the bathroom. Like,
I'm such a loser, sweating God, I'm the worst.
Welcome back to the Woodsmen podcast. We're your hosts, Joey Rucker
and Brent Murphy.
And we're back on another episode for the entertainment of all of you.
The entertainment of the world.
The most entertaining podcast there is out there. We've already beat out Joe Rogan.
America's #1 podcast, the Woodsmen podcast.
Woodsmen. And today we have a special episode for you. Today we are going to be talking about superheroes and everything that comes with that, what it takes to be a hero, who the real heroes of the world are, and we'll get into that.
You're my hero.
I'm your hero?
Yeah.
Well, you're mine, dog.
Dog, stop. Don't make me get up and kiss you right now over this table.
The views, though, would skyrocket.
Oh, from 16 to 32. Doubling that.
So, yeah, man, how have you been?
Oh, man. Busy.
Busy?
Been pretty busy. Had a wedding, had a lot of things going on, you know, in the past couple of weeks. But, you know, it feels good to be able to sit down and just get to the heart of, you know, these juicy topics that we got for you guys. Yeah, no, it's been pretty good. Just been working some more, just been getting a podcast room ready, you know.
Yeah, you know how it
no
is.
Big deal. Some light. Yeah. What about you, bro?
I've been good. I don't think I've had much really to bring to the table this week. This has actually been a relatively boring week for me, but
that's good. I mean, sometimes you just need a good boring week to weed out the terrible ones.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like a couple it was recently, I can't remember exactly what day it was, but like there was just a week where I was like slumped on work, and just it wasn't even like the most amount of work I've done, but it's just like after a whole week of it, you're just like, I just need a nap, dog.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine going from like no job for like a very long time to just full time, definitely working over 40 hours a week.
Yeah. I
couldn't imagine. That sounds pretty grueling.
It's got its benefits and its downsides for sure. I mean, the money is probably the best part, but man, my freedom is gone. Like, I have no time to do anything anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could. You just got to sacrifice some sleep.
And, I mean, we do. We still hang. Like, I try to. More than, you know.
Some people we know. Some people we know and talk about literally almost every podcast. But
yeah, you can call him Big Bird.
Big Bird. Big Bird. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed last week's episode. We actually had a bit of a different vibe last week. We uploaded our first episode. Well, technically it's the second recorded, but our first episode publicly of the Chillcast.
Yeah. And honestly, we've been trying to figure out what we're going to do with that. We've been throwing around the idea of, you know, doing all of our chill podcasts on Patreon, or if we're going to, just post them up for you guys. And lo and behold, you guys got one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like Joey said, definitely not the first one, but probably the best one we've recorded.
Yeah, we definitely went in because we were, for a little insight to those who are interested in what it's like to be, not full-time podcasters, but we're actually doing it all the time now.
We're definitely part-time.
Oh, absolutely.
We're definitely putting in part-time hours.
The amount of equipment we have put in and money we've put into this podcast is pretty high now.
It's pretty disheartening if you don't know how much equipment costs. It is very concerning how much money we have spent in, I would say, a relatively short amount of time.
But I think it definitely is worth it. I think that it's all paying off, and almost every episode ever since well, no, that's not true. since the first episode we recorded, we've definitely been upgrading every time. But I definitely think that since we started uploading regularly, like it's almost skyrocketing how much stuff we're getting better
Oh
at.
yeah, I would say every single week there's at least one little thing that we have done better than the week prior.
Mm-hmm.
Even
would
if
totally
we've
agree with that.
even if we've done videos where there's no video and it's just audio, like I still feel like we have done something to
Yeah.
like raise our quality just to the next level.
And you can see that with the Chillcast. I mean, the Chillcast, surprisingly to us, did great. Like,
Yeah.
we have very low views, obviously, since we're still starting out. But I mean, for the little views we get, it did really well compared
Yeah.
to the other episodes.
Well, I mean, just to put it in perspective, I mean, we have more views on that now than we did our Christmas episode, and that was what, 2 weeks ago?
Yes. No, 3 weeks ago.
3
now.
weeks ago. So, I mean, just to put it in perspective, we spent probably way more time on the Christmas episode.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think you're thinking of a different episode because if I'm correct, the Christmas episode actually did terribly. I'm pretty sure Christmas did like only 6 views.
That's what I mean. I'm saying we have significantly
But we
skyrocketed
also-
from then, and
Oh,
we did
absolutely, yeah.
way more. We spent way more time.
I was
on
more
the
impressed
Christmas
that I
episode.
think it beat episode 5, our studio episode,
Yeah, yeah.
because we did like really good cameras. We had all the audio equipment. I mean, and we
We had some pretty good banger jokes.
absolutely yeah.
Slab
That
of
had
meat.
the slab of
Yeah.
meat. That was a great episode, and so like, and it had the most views until the Chillcast beat it out. So
Yeah.
I was impressed.
And let me tell you, that Chillcast episode should not have gone the way it went because we went in with a topic, by the way. We went in with today's topic
Yeah, that's true.
and decided, nah. And we just came up with all of that on the fly.
Yeah.
No script, no outline. Just an Apollo and a dream.
And well, that's the point of the Chillcast, and that's why we're thinking about putting it on Patreon, because it's supposed to be a different vibe. Like, maybe it'll have video on Patreon. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
But, like,
if
the
it
whole-
does, it would probably be very minimal compared to what we do now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like maybe just a
like
split or something.
like that, where we
Yeah.
don't really worry about it much, and it's just like us chilling. Because that's the whole point, is we're just supposed to
Yeah.
sit down, talk, enjoy each
Talk
other's
about
company.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's been a while, I will admit, from doing the podcast. We spend all of our time together doing the podcast.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all that's all we talk about, even at times when we're not even doing the podcast. Like a couple of days ago, we hung out and we talked the whole first hour about, what can we do to make the podcast better?
Well, that's how you know
So-
that we really do care about this, man. Like,
Yeah.
And the thing that's great about it is that not only are we actually like getting better at it, but like it's still fun. You know?
Yeah, it hasn't become something that I loathe doing,
Mm-hmm.
when the days come up. And I think part of that is we've gotten better at scheduling ourselves. We've gotten
Mm-hmm.
better at, like, if we can't do it on our specific day, what day can we do it? And we stick to it. I think that's like one of the biggest things for us is that consistency, not only with just releasing the episode, but consistency with editing, consistency with all the extra little stuff that we need to do to make it, just that much better.
Mm-hmm.
And we're definitely, I think, getting to the point where we can reap the benefits of our hard work.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Like, when we were doing it, just us sitting on the couch in your garage for the first like 4 episodes, I enjoyed doing it. I really did. But like, it also really was a hassle to like move around all the equipment
Yeah.
and to do it. Like, it is a little disheartening at times where you're like, hey, this is just supposed to be a fun thing for us to do, and it's so much effort. And literally every time we set this thing up, one piece of equipment is always like faltering.
Faulty. Well, yeah, and I mean, we literally just had that right now as we were setting up, with my mic. So, I don't think we've ever had a time where everything just ran very smooth the whole time.
Yeah.
But I will admit, today's episode, even though it took us a little bit longer, I think this is more of a permanent, a more
Absolutely.
definitely a better setup than we've ever had in general, as far as space, as far as location, as far as like just overall everything, and I think that this is definitely the start of something permanent.
Totally agree with you. I totally agree. And I can't wait to see where it goes. Like, if we're starting to skyrocket this fast on like quality and everything like that. I think that we're set. We're
Yeah.
set for a good future.
It's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year
Absolutely.
for sure.
I
the
think
podcast.
everything that we're trying to accomplish with our 2024 goals that we talked about in the New Year's episode is actually like working.
Yeah,
especially since
it's
we're
working
sticking
and,
to it.
and we're in the second month. So
Mhm.
I mean, we've already seen some progress.
Yep.
But I mean, I guess to continue with just a little bit of housekeeping we do have left, I do want to make a point. I messed up. Chillcast. Was it the Chillcast? I don't even remember at this point if it was a Chillcast or if it was the episode
the
before.
New Year's episode, I think.
Yeah. So it was either the New Year's episode or the Chillcast. Definitely said the time travel episode was episode 3. It wasn't. It was episode 4. So I apologize. Obviously, no one complained because we don't have the views for people to care that much. But just for you guys, chat, whenever we have more than 100 listeners at one time, at least
Hey,
you know
it
I
shows
actually
that you
did
really
something.
care.
Yeah,
You care
I
to,
went
like-
back. I fixed my mistake. I'm a man who is able to admit my wrongs,
Absolutely.
and I was wrong. So
Well, let's with that out of the way, let's kind of get into this. Let's start talking about superheroes, man. Have you always been into superheroes?
oh man, dude, you know, I grew up I think I grew up way more into music, obviously, if you couldn't tell. I was really into that kind of stuff, but I do remember my first time ever getting introduced to anything superhero related was Spider-Man. I think that's everybody's
It's a good gateway superhero.
Yeah. Well, and at least with our generation, because we had all the movies come out like within the same time period and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Spider-Man was probably like the first real introduction of a superhero I ever had. And my grandma had signed me up for this thing from the newspaper. And every weekend, because I used to spend the weekends up at my grandma's house. Every weekend, I would have a new comic. And they were all Spider-Man comics.
Oh.
And they would send it once a week. And I have the first the first comic that Spider-Man was introduced to.
Oh, the one where he's
with
like
the
swinging
Vulture.
through. Introduced. Yes.
Yeah, and I had that. I had the actual the physical
That's
comic. Cool. Obviously, it wasn't first edition or anything like that. But I mean, just to physically get comics in the mail every week, I think that was something really cool that kids now will never get to experience. You know, kids are so far gone on their tablets and everything that picking up a physical comic would mean nothing to them. But I think as I get older, I have really grown to appreciate, things like that kids our age now, or kids our age back then now, will never really get to experience. So, but yeah, that was my first introduction to any type of superhero.
That's interesting. I mean,
yeah,
my introduction. Well, I wouldn't say introduction. What would have been my introduction? Because I know for a fact that one of the main draws to superheroes in my life was starting the tradition that I do with my dad. And for the listeners, that if you don't know, ever since I think it was, from my memory, it was the Incredible Hulk, but my dad claims that it was Captain America. The only reason I call bullshit on that is that I definitely know for a fact Thor was one of the movies. Point being, what I do is every time a Marvel movie comes out is I have to go see it with my dad. It's just been a tradition, and we've kept to it even with how crazy and convoluted the MCU is now. We still, every time a movie or a show comes out, we watch it together. And so I remember that I watched Thor definitely with my dad in theaters, and I just remember growing up with it, and that was how I got super into Stan Lee and how he created all these heroes, and I got into all the shows growing up. And you were talking about your appreciation of comics. One thing I used to do when I was a kid that I loved doing was I would go to Toys R Us. And,
oh, yes, sir.
And they had a whole section of, action figures and things. But the ones I would specifically go for were these packages that had an action figure of a superhero. And then behind it would have
the comic, yeah.
That was related to that hero. And that's how I found the comic that had Hulk lifting an entire like mountain range like over the heroes so that they wouldn't die when it crashed on them. Like it was, we both obviously love comics these days,
Oh
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of fun to revisit those memories.
No, definitely. And I think some of those memories we definitely hold near and dear to our heart. And I think that's why, I don't know why it took us so long to like do a superhero episode. But like, I really do feel like comics and just superheroes and like just the thought of people doing more for the goodness of other people. I think that really kind of just shaped us as people. And I think it's funny that even though we didn't really know each other that well, we weren't really like that good of friends back when we were younger. We can kind of see that now and see how similar we actually really did grow up as far as fictitious people that we admired and looked up to.
Well, let me ask you, do you have a favorite superhero?
See, that's a hard one. I mean, I would go stereotypical and say Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's tough to not put in like at least top 3.
Yeah, Spider-Man's a really good one. I know off of cams we were talking about Captain America. Phenomenal.
Is he in
I
your
love
top
Moon.
5? Is Captain America in your top 5?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually wouldn't have expected that. Like,
Yeah.
he's a great hero, but I wasn't expecting top 5.
So, top 5 would probably have to be.
Well, let's make it easier. Let's do
like-
top 3 for the sake of the video.
That's facts. I would have to say Spider-Man for sure. Captain America. This is not in order either.
Sure.
And Thor.
Thor, really? Thor
Yeah.
made the list.
Yeah, so I actually grew up reading the Thor. That was Thor comics were the second set of comics after Spider-Man that I.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's like really funny. Like now that I'm older, like I had my long hair and everything, people are like, oh, dude, dress up like Thor for like this and that and all that kind of
That's
stuff.
got to be like a cool feeling.
Because it's like, dude, like when you've grown up, like reading comics after someone, you're just like, I never would have thought I'd be in a place for someone to ask me to dress up like this person. Like it's just like, okay, I guess. Like that would be someone asking me now to dress up like Spider-Man. It just doesn't work.
Now
I
you
just don't
could,
have the
though.
body
I mean,
type. I don't have.
You could fit in. You could actually like wear one of those like latex suits now and not be as. Look at me
Buddy,
and imagine me in the latex. Now look at you and imagine you in the latex.
wanna know who you could be as a superhero?
I'm so gonna be offended.
I was just gonna say you could be King Shark. What? You don't like King Shark, bro?
The only iterations I've ever seen of him was the Flash show, where he was this big giant hulking monster,
Of
but
a shark.
he was terribly CGI and he looked goofy. Now there's this Justice League game coming out where he's like there, but like who the hell cares that King Shark's there? And then
I'd play as King Shark.
there's the Justice League movie where he's
Single-handedly the greatest iteration of King Shark.
that's the single-handedly best iteration.
That is the greatest iteration of King Shark.
He's a dope. Like he's a
Yeah.
moron. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're saying I'm just like him.
But he's a big shark.
All right, let's move on from that. My top 3 heroes are easy for me, but it's also just because I think that I've always had this opinion, which is that I obviously Spider-Man, you can't really not have him in the top 3, but that's easy.
Yeah.
Then Hulk is one of the ones that is hard for sometimes for me to put in the comment or into the top 3 because like lately I don't like much Hulk stuff. But in the comics, he's
it's
a
hard.
savage.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's hard because you're tainted by the MCU and like what they've done with the Hulk and his whole character development is just.
But like comics Hulk is literally one of the coolest heroes I've ever seen. Like
Comic Hulk is insane.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they play into the fact that Hulk is literally his own person, and so is Bruce Banner.
Yep.
And I think that's what they really did a good job with Moon Knight, like portraying that character as far as MCU wise. I think they did a very good job of completely separating personality to where it's almost like I'm watching like, two different people played by the same person, and it
I
works.
totally
like,
agree
and it
with you.
works.
Yeah.
But that's the thing they failed with Hulk. You know, they took it too far out of comic reality, you know, and I think they tried to just make it their own thing, and it just didn't work out. I think it would have worked out if they would have kept it at one movie with like Professor Hulk and everything. You're like, oh, okay, it's like, it's weird, but I'm down.
I just
But then
want
they
my
just
rage
continued
monster
it. Yeah,
back,
they
man.
they
I
just continued it, and it made it too unrealistic as a Hulk, you know. And then you get Thor Ragnarok, and you're just like, bro, what?
don't
Like,
get
what
me
is
started
happening?
on Thor
Like,
Ragnarok. That could be the debate that we have one day, is how much I hate that movie. Don't get me wrong, Love and Thunder's worse.
yeah, continue.
But all that being said, my third favorite is Wolverine.
Yeah, I could have figured that one.
Yeah,
Coulda figured
it's
that
kind of
one.
an
But
easy
that's
choice when
been
you know me, but like obviously I really do love Wolverine. Wolverine's always been like, I just love, and I think it's mainly because I really love how they handled Logan in the like X-Men universe, you know, like from start of X-Men 1 all the way to Logan. It's just this fantastic story to me, and that's what got me into the comics and seeing like all these stories that he's been in. And I just actually finished reading a comic about him like a couple months ago, where he fought a bunch of vampires, and that was like really cool. And so like I don't know, Wolverine's always just been like a badass to me, and like he's definitely
Yeah.
always going to be one of my favorites.
I think Wolverine is, well, when you take it into comic perspective, because you have Captain America and Wolverine, they both served in World War II, all that kind of stuff. I think when you take it to that level, it's very interesting to see the level of character development and character dynamic between two people who are in the same universe, in the same timeline. Vastly different way of being a hero. You know, like
Absolutely, yeah.
very vastly different, but both achieving the same goals, but ultimately a different way.
And that's going to be something that we're going to talk about in this episode, is like which way is the better way to go about it, you know, like what.
Yeah. And if there is a better way of going about it.
If there is, yeah, exactly.
You
Like,
Like-
it's kind of the debate really, is like what makes a hero, and it all comes down to the choices they make and who they're fighting for and what they're fighting for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're going to go into that, we have quite a bit of history involving superheroes and involving legends of superheroes, urban legends, all that kind of stuff, dating back for quite a while ago.
Yeah, the word superhero actually dates back to 1899, which is wild, but like that's just when the word kind of became popular and was used for that definition mainly. But like before then, there were legends and folklore and tall tales that really inspired what we consider to be superheroes today. Men of great power or godlike abilities that normal human beings like could never even imagine being able to comprehend and have and yield.
Yeah. Now,
Wield, I mean, not yield.
Now then, my question for you that kind of goes off topic of that, but also fits into all of our, conspiracy theory types and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Why do we have so many stories of people with godlike abilities or supernatural strength or just these abilities that we as normal humans don't have? Where do we get that from? Do you think that there is some sort of truth to the legend?
I think that we've always, as the human race, we've always sort of longed for something, more, and that we always like to believe that this can't just be it. And so I do think that part of it is just us like trying to, imagine what it would be like to be better, to be greater, to be more powerful. But we've also talked in other episodes about how things like I said in a previous episode, I'm not sure which one, but that I truly believe that everything that has ever been created was based at least roughly off of something that was a thing.
Yeah.
So, and a perfect example for us as being Christians is Samson. Samson had his long hair, and it gave him incredible strength by the power of God. And it wasn't until his hair was cut that, you know, he lost faith in God and that all his power went away, all that stuff. But that is a true, you know, because we believe it, it's a true story of a man who had power that no man had ever had before.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
is wild to think about. And so I definitely believe that, like, most of these legends and lore and tales that we hear about mythological creatures and men who can, you know, lift incredible weights have to be based on people who actually lived and were able to do such feats.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I think it's just it's a very interesting thing to ponder when you really do research like we did for these topics, and you realize, like, man, there's a lot to say about these people. There are a lot of, I mean, for anyone who believes any of that, I mean, there's a lot of fact. There's a lot of things to back up some of these claims of these very supernatural, I guess, people, you know, people with supernatural strength or abilities. And I just find it very interesting that there are so many of the same variations of, you know, people and the same type of story, just told in a different way with different names and different, you know, very small differences, but ultimately, like, revealing the same overall
do you
theme.
also believe that everything, or at least in this situation, that men of great power, unlike any that we've ever seen before, existed?
Oh, yeah. I don't believe that there's anything in the world that anyone has written, filmed, spoke. I don't believe that there's anything anyone has ever done that's quite original. You know, there has to be an influence somewhere, and there has to be some sort of truth coming from whatever is being told or whatever is being spoke.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Anything,
I agree with you.
Anything. So
I think one of the biggest legends that, you know, I came across when I was looking up, like, what inspired the idea of superheroes was Gilgamesh. And, like, you know, for those of you who don't know, I have, like, a little bit of information on him, and we can go through it. But, like, he lived in the 2nd to 3rd millennium of in BCE, which I literally had it in my thought a while back, but it's BC is before Christ, but then BCE,
before Common Era.
That's what it was. Yes, before the Common Era. And he was famous for driving out creatures that were attacking the goddess Inanna, I believe is the name. It could be pronounced differently, but they were attacking...
Yeah, we're not historians here, so we're definitely getting names wrong.
But they were attacking her halupu tree? Halupu, I believe. And I'm not sure the significance of it, but obviously, you know, these creatures that were attacking it, he had the strength to go and, like, literally drive them out and protect the tree and help Inanna, whatever.
You got this, bro.
I'm having a stroke right now.
Inanna.
Yeah. But no, yeah, and he was super powerful, and originally his story came from this very popular poem. I wish I could remember the name. I did terrible research for this. I should have done more, but I was caught off guard by how much I didn't actually look into. But that's common for these podcasts.
It's fine. I did more work than I needed to.
But no, and so he's also sometimes seen as a demigod with superhuman strength. That's like one of his most notable abilities, which is also like one of the most common abilities when you think of superheroes. Do you think that's actually the most common? Or do you think it would be like flight or like...
Nah. How many heroes do you know that actually fly? Legitimately fly.
I mean...
Thor doesn't even fly.
That's a technicality.
But it's not. He doesn't fly. He literally throws his hammer so hard that it just carries him.
Sure, but like... Yeah, but...
He doesn't fly.
No, that's true.
Like a technical, like, I levitate on my own. What,
but
Superman?
There are still plenty of heroes that fly. I mean, Green Lantern, Superman, Iron Man.
Iron Man doesn't...
Come
It's
on,
not a power.
You're not gonna. Okay, fine. If we're counting abilities that people have,
well, that's what you asked. An
no,
ability.
You're right. You're right. When you're right, you're right. But so then, would you think strength then is the most common ability in overall heroes?
Heightened strength or rapid healing abilities. I would say those are probably the two most. At least to me, I feel like those are probably the two.
Yeah, I definitely think
most.
strength is up there for like the most popular power. I think there's just something about everyone feels weak at times.
Well, I mean, we're pretty weak as a organism. You know, like there are animals way stronger than us as humans, you know? So it's kind of like, I mean, I could understand the appeal. Imagine being as strong as a gorilla. Legitimately just being as
insane.
strong as a gorilla. Like that is superhuman power already, and that's a known thing. Like imagine having the power of something not known. Like
Yeah.
that's wild.
It would be incredible. Like
You'd
I don't
you would be
understand
Superman.
how that is true though. Like most animals are like incredibly strong,
Way
incredibly
stronger than
fast
us.
too. Like
Yeah.
like cheetahs, and there was another animal that
I mean,
knew
it's
that-
literally like the same. Like when you think of Aquaman, like you think he just has powers of things we don't have. He's just a fish.
That's why
Like
I hate him so
like
much.
he is a strength heightened fish, but in reality, he's just a whale in a human body.
Whale in a human body.
Well, I mean, like, because he's super strong, like a
yeah.
whale would be, because of its mass. He echolocates, you know, and he swims hella fast. He's literally
He's like
just
that
a
one
whale, but as a
that,
human.
Like, has echolocation. Is that a beluga? What kind of whale is
Oh
that?
yeah, with the big dome,
The big dome.
Yeah,
Aquaman is a
beluga.
big domed beluga.
or like a dolphin, or like a
Yeah.
very strength.
That's also interesting
dolphin.
because dolphins are like one of the smartest animals, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like they're literally the most
It's
intelligent.
because they use more percentage of their brain. I don't know if they're not 100%, but they use way more.
More than
compared
we
to
do?
us. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Well, because we only use, I think, 10%.
Yeah, I think. Well, I also heard
10
that
to
that's
20?
like
Is it
kind
10 to
of-
20 or something like that?
Yeah, the common statistic is that we only use 10% of our brains, but I also heard someone say that that's all like kind of BS.
Like base level.
Because like there's no
that's
way
where
to
you're at.
truly measure that. Like you can measure like electromagnetic waves and stuff in your brain, but like there's no way to physically know for a fact that like our brain is only using 10% of its abilities that it could do.
Yeah, I guess, but couldn't there just be tests you can run on like a brain, not like, like a post-mortem?
But
Is that what it's called? Like when someone dies, they take out the organs and all that. Couldn't you just take a brain and?
But I
couldn't
don't
you
think that would
measure
work because then the brain has already technically passed away. Even if you were to somehow keep it alive, I mean, there's no one controlling it to like.
Yeah, I guess.
That's
I
why
guess.
I think it's
Like
said to be impossible
your neurons
because
aren't like
yeah.
actively triggering it or whatever.
Like mathematically speaking, you can say how much stuff your brain does, but like there's still that like unknown soul aspect of your brain that none of us can really
Yeah.
comprehend because like there's somewhere that you are in your mind, like you are there, but like, do you know what I'm saying? Like
No, I get you. So like our bodies are just containers holding the soul.
I think so. I believe in a soul, but I also think that if you're to pinpoint the main part of the soul to any part of the body, I think the brain would be the most likely.
That's interesting
piece.
because I actually don't think that.
Really?
I think your soul is like the force. It's like, no. Listen. It sounds dumb, but like,
I
listen
understand
to
where
my
you're going.
reasoning.
Okay.
Like I feel like the soul is like the force, right? Like everything is connected always, and it is us that like disconnect ourselves from like everything. So I think like the soul is kind of just always you. It's like living in you. You are your soul. And I think like our body is just a vessel of being able to physically see us in that way. Because if you think of you as a soul, like your body is kind of like the vessel that's like, oh, hey, there's a meat sack. There must be a soul in there. You know, like,
Yeah.
you feel me? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's like attributed to like, oh, my soul is carried in my liver. You know, like I just don't.
Well, okay, but that's the thing. I don't actually think that the soul is part of the brain. I'm just saying that
Like, I just don't think it dwells like.
yeah, no,
there,
but
you know?
that's I completely agree with you. I don't actually think it dwells there. I'm just saying if like it had to be attributed to a body part, it would be the brain because I think a lot of people think
Yeah.
that the soul comes from the heart. Like what's the word?
I mean, that would make sense because the Egyptians, when they would embalm people and like make them mummies and everything, they take out every organ but the heart because they thought that the heart was like the main, I guess, workhouse for the body instead of the brain. You know, they didn't. They were like, oh, the brain's useless, so they would pick your brain out through your nose. Fun fact.
Fun fact for you.
Well, because I was in an Egyptian like class or whatever. Like I almost said a master class. It's definitely not a master
Not a
class,
master
but
class.
like some random class thing they were teaching at like a college when I was like in middle school, and I went and it was like 4 days, and I learned about all these weird things with like mummies and Egyptians and everything. And that fact will always stay in my brain for the rest of my life, that they just take this big old thing and they just whomp right at the nose and they pick your brain out piece by piece. And
I do remember hearing something.
they throw it
about that,
away.
though.
That's actually the
wild.
only organ they just don't even keep, because they put every organ in like jars and they keep them like with the body and everything. But
Wow.
yeah. Fun fact.
Well,
Fun fact.
Let's try and get back on topic. You also looked into some, like a legend that is very popular that
Yeah.
also is a very heavy inspiration for what we consider to be heroes and superhuman beings.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So, for all these Disney fans out here, Hercules, that's our boy, that's our dog. It's actually like one of my favorite like older Disney
Dude,
movies.
I love
Phenomenal.
Hercules. Literally,
Phenomenal.
probably no, not top 10, but definitely like one of the best ones
It was
they've
back.
made.
It was back in the era where they were drawing a lot and they were
Mm-hmm.
doing animation like that, and I just find it beautiful. But anyways, we could go on literally the whole episode about animation, but we're not gonna do that.
That should be an episode. Animation.
An
would be cool.
animation, dude,
History of animation.
that would be pretty sick. All right, future episode. Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a shame if we did an episode on animation. So Hercules, you actually put the date on here. You found 1300
Yep.
before Common Era.
Yeah.
So that's pretty early.
Long time ago.
Pretty
Hard to
early.
comprehend long time ago.
Obviously Greek
Origins,
Greek origins, all that kind of stuff. Hercules, son of Zeus. We already kind of knew that, but definitely did not play out like the Disney version. Pretty wild. Zeus used to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff, man. He was a man of means, and let me tell you, he was a man who just catered to the women, man.
It seems like in a lot of lore that I've heard about Zeus that he was like
He was a
pretty
womanizer, bro.
Wild dude.
That dude was just out here doing some out-of-pocket stuff. Like this man, well, I mean, for instance, with Hercules' mom, definitely normal human. And Zeus is married, by the way. Don't know if you knew that, but definitely has a wife up there at Mount Olympus.
Interesting.
Bro snuck out for some
Actually did
milk.
not know that.
Yeah, dude, he snuck out for some milk, like most of our dads do.
For the milk.
Now, crazy enough, Zeus did come back, but that's not the story. So Zeus went out for some milk.
Unlike your dad.
Came down, yeah. Unlike my dad who didn't come back.
Zeus
came back, and he came back with a child. So,
arguably worse than just not coming back.
Arguably worse. I mean, if someone left my house and came back with a kid, I would have many questions, like, where's the milk, you know?
Where's the milk? That's literally the best question. Could you imagine?
Yeah, like, how'd you come back with a whole ass baby, dude? I'm looking for the
Imagine
gallon
your
of milk.
girlfriend just
Like,
leaves the house, says, "I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm gonna go get milk. I'll be right back." And then she comes back and there's a child, and all you can think is,
She didn't even come back with the 2%.
where's the milk?
Yeah, where's the milk at, dude? I was
Who-
low-key
who-
looking
who's-
forward to
who's
some
this
cereal.
kid?
Like, dude, what the hell? So, anyways, Zeus walks out on his wife. He goes down to Earth. My dog shapeshifts as a woman's husband, tricks this girl into sleeping with him. Boom.
Dun dun dun.
Then she's big preggers.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And Zeus was like, I'm out. And then he
ya.
evaporated and evaporated like evaporated milk and appeared back into Mount Olympus. And his wife was like, something's a little off with you. Of course, dude was like, I might have gotten a girl pregnant, but no big deal. So Hera, obviously, big mad, right? I'm simplifying the story for every age here. So if you don't understand the story, it's on you. But Hera gets mad. She's like, yeah, we're going to kill that baby. And so she sends down 2 snakes, which we obviously remember from the actual Hercules movie.
Except in the movie, they may have been snakes at one point, but they were
think
like
he-
mainly just like demons.
Yeah, they were just like little demons. So like they definitely got that wrong. They were just sent by a god. And they were going to choke that baby out. But that baby choked them out because obviously that baby is Zeus's son. So that fool got the big gains. And he just and they're gone. So they're dead. So Hera was like, dang, that did not work out. So she just spends her whole life just trying to make this man's life miserable. He ends up finding a woman, gets super attached. He's in love. They have 3 kids. Hera just wasn't having that. She was like, nah, buddy. You're just going to go crazy. You're going to go ape for a little bit. And so Hercules just goes off his rocker. I don't know what all that entails, but long story short, he murders his wife and 3 kids.
Wild.
Yeah, bro just murders them, comes to it. He's like, what if I can't believe you done this, And he feels actually genuinely pretty bad. He does not know that he was mind controlled this whole time. So he's, beating himself up. Goes to his half brother Apollo, sun guy,
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, what do I do, man? I messed up. And Apollo took charge of the situation, and he was like, all right, you're going to go through some of these trials. They're called I actually have the notes right here. It's like 12 trials of something. 12 trials of Hercules, I'm pretty sure is what it's called.
12 trials of Hercules.
That's what it is. The 12 labors of Hercules. So bro just gets sent off. He has to complete these 12 tasks that more or less happens in about a span of 12 years. So bro basically ends up becoming a servant to Apollo, doing all these crazy weird laborious things. He kills a lion that's out here killing a whole bunch of people. He ends up skinning it, and he actually wears the lion skin as a cloak until the day he dies. So that's it. So yeah, so there are typically, if you look up like statues of Hercules or pictures,
Oh, you know what I did?
most of the time
That's
he's
true.
wearing a lion cloak, and that's from one of the 12 labors of Hercules.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So it's actually pretty crazy. You see some of that and you're like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. Like when you only get one piece of the puzzle and then you complete the whole puzzle and you're like, oh yeah, it makes way more sense now.
Yeah.
So bro's wearing a lion cloak. Bro's doing a whole bunch of other stuff. Finally completes all the trials, goes to Apollo. He's like, hey, feeling a lot better about my situation now. I don't think I feel as bad anymore. And Apollo sends him off. He's like, all right, have fun. Hercules saves a king. King was very thankful, so he gives him his wife as a gift, all this stuff, or not his wife, his daughter as a gift for Hercules to be his wife. So this dude remarries, having a good ass time, thinking he's all, clear of everything. Boom, not clear, definitely not clear. She goes and tries to make him a cloak coated with love potion. Definitely was no love potion. Definitely was poison.
Oh.
Bro definitely puts on the cloak, seeps into his skin, eternally burning. Obviously, dude's a demigod, so he doesn't die like that.
Oh, no.
So bro is just going through
Constant.
it. You know, he's in constant pain, goes through this whole thing, ends up getting put in it's called a pyre, which from what little research I did, is like a giant pillar of fire that they just put him in.
Oh,
Yeah. And I don't really know specifics as to why they decided that was what was going to happen. I think it was because he wanted death. Like, he was like, I'm in agonizing pain.
like he craved it.
And he was just like, I need to die, you know? And I think that's why they put him in there, but he didn't die, you know, because he's a demigod.
Yeah.
And then after all that, Hera was like, he's had enough. And so she just sends down Athena in her fiery chariot. She comes, picks him up, and he's like one of the very few demigods to live in Mount Olympus for the rest of his however long godly life is. So, yeah, pretty crazy.
You can't tell. Brent did a lot more research.
I did a lot.
than
I did a lot of research and a lot of writing that I did not need to do.
No, but it's super interesting. Like, there's a lot. I never knew that about, like, the lion skin. Like, that's very interesting.
I found that one, like, actually very cool. I was not prepared to find something like that where I was like, oh, it actually makes a lot more sense. Like, I've seen many a picture with him with this, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, I can, like, vividly picture statues and murals of Hercules with
which
the
I'm
lions.
also very surprised they didn't go into maybe any of that in the Disney version either. You know, you would think if that's, like, such a staple of Hercules look that they,
there's that
they would have
scene-
changed it up.
There's that scene where he's walking through the building, and there's a lion skin on the floor, and the lion skin is Scar from Lion King. Did you know that?
Yes, I do remember
little
that.
Easter egg. That was pretty interesting.
Disney be doing pretty good with some of those Easter eggs. I do enjoy some of those ones. I really enjoy all the Toy Story Easter eggs. I know that's Pixar and everything, but like...
No, Pixar's cool. Pixar likes to do this thing where in every movie they do, somewhere in the movie, there's an Easter egg to what the next film will be, which is really fun.
Yes. I have seen some of that stuff. It is very interesting, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool little plug that you can do for all the fans, you know.
Well, all these, legends and tales that we've talked about so far with Hercules and Gilgamesh, obviously they have adapted over time, and we don't have, like, I wouldn't say we have legends anymore. We just have stories. There are still people who believe in mythical beings and things like that, but that's like, it's not quite what it was when Hercules and Gilgamesh were in their prime.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that too is the whole telephone game. I think it's a matter of those people back then really didn't have a lot of the means to date and record something very accurate as far as information wise, and a lot of these stories are really handed down like through oral tradition. And you know, when you're passing down the same story for hundreds of years, you know, orally, I'm sure things are bound to get mixed up and muddied up as far as like accuracy. And, you know, you eventually get stories about, you know, Hercules, which, you know, very well could have just been a man that was really strong.
And certain stories like Hercules stand the test of time. Like, and they, you know, we're going to talk about how legends have adapted into comic book heroes. People like Hercules have literally been so popular in culture that literally he's his own hero in comics these days. Yeah.
And then you have stuff, well, I mean, you even see it in Thor, Love, and Thunder. I mean, you have a council of the gods. You have all of these gods and stuff you know, nowadays we can, I wouldn't say we can fully say they're debunked gods or anything like that. But, you know, because people... You know, I'm sure there's someone out there who still believes in the old ways and the old gods and all that, and we like to respect people on this show. So if you believe in all of that, then
good for you.
Then good for you. They're probably real. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, but you know,
who's to say?
Not
us.
Who's to say? Yeah, definitely not me. I have no opinion on anything real. So
except aliens.
Except aliens, that I will confirm. But anyways, I will say, you know, they stand testaments of time in that way, and things get muddied up, and you know, like you said, they end up becoming so big that they outlive their legend and they adapt to
Yes, that's also true.
what they are now. And they're almost turned into just, fictional characters of old. But, back in that time, around 1300 BC, that was someone's religion. That's what they believed in. And
Sure.
I think it's crazy. And it goes hand in hand with, the Norse gods and all that kind of stuff as well. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying, legends adapt over time, and these heroes get watered down and changed, and obviously with creativity and imagination, new heroes and new stories and new legends have evolved, and that kind of we're gonna skip a lot of history here, and we're gonna kind of dive straight into like the meat of it all, which is like comic books and how that has changed the world for sure.
It's definitely changed our world.
I definitely will not have like the perfect analytical data for this, but I know for a fact that like during the world wars, like they were such a big deal because they gave hope and humor and stuff to the soldiers that were fighting in the war. Like they were able to like kind of they would either be able to forget about all the problems that they were struggling with, the being away from home and the solitude and the fighting and the blood and everything, but they also were able to, find almost inspiration from them. Like, and that was a big thing with Captain America and his time and his comic books, because like, obviously I think it was his first issue that he was punching Hitler in the face, and that like literally blew up around the world, and everybody took it so seriously.
Yeah, no, I think especially like World War II type of comics and stuff that's placed in that era, I just think for people that were going through that at that time, I mean, the world must have felt very hopeless. And, just because you're a man doesn't mean you're not scared. And I mean, being in a position where you don't even know if you're going to wake up tomorrow, it's a real fear. And it's something that I think a lot of us have taken for granted, as far as like, we're not really in wars to that extent right now. At least our country isn't. And to just be in a place where you could get a comic book about someone who's in the same fight as you, to have someone who's fighting for the same beliefs and the same morals and the same values and statutes that you're also currently fighting for, that must have definitely been a positive boost, and I could only imagine what that would have done to a soldier's morale in that instance.
It's something I definitely don't think that we could handle these days, because we have nothing like that going on. Like you said, we're not in the same kind of wars that went on back then, and we have no idea what it took to really be like, all right, it's fight or flight now. This is it. Like, I'm going to choose to fight for my country.
Well, and obviously there are tragedies happening all around the world, but but as far as the U.S., the
truth of it all is that we're not affected by it. Like, in the grand scheme of things, like overall, America is being
America.
It is affected by it, but like us, like it's kind of like when all the alien stuff blew up, everyone kind of for the first time was just like, all right, I got to pay my taxes tomorrow. I don't really care.
I mean, it's a breakthrough, but to what point, I still have to make a living. I still have to carry on
or
and do
not.
my own
like
thing.
I have a life to live, and if I don't like literally think about what I'm going to do with my life every day, then like my life could crumble at any moment.
Yeah. Just because, and it sounds very insensitive, but just because someone else's life is crumbling at that moment in that place, it's up to us to. That was really loud.
Sorry, my bad.
By the way.
Whoops.
But yeah, I forgot where I was, but.
So speaking of comics, I wanted to kind of go into obviously one of the most popular iterations of what made comic books big, which is Stan Lee. Or, if you know his real name like I do. Do you know his real name? Did you know it wasn't Stan Lee?
Yeah. I just don't know what it was.
His name is Stanley Martin Lieber.
Oh, well, it's still his real name.
Yeah, but it's not Stan Space Lee, Lee. It's,
Well, I would hope that no one thought that was his
I mean, when I
name.
was a kid, I definitely thought it was his real name.
I
But
mean, anyone knows that Stan is short for Stanley.
yeah,
I
but
mean, Lee, that one, I wouldn't have probably
yeah,
got. But
I think that one's definitely based off
what is
Lieber.
it, Lieber?
Lieber, L. It's either Lei or Lieber.
Lieberman.
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 But yes, Stan Lee, the great, the man, the myth, the legend, born in 1922, and lived until the year 2018. I honestly forgot it was 2018. And 2018 seems like so long ago now. How long ago was that? 6 years? Oh God,
Ugh.
5-6 years. Ew,
We were 18.
that's crazy to think about. I was just starting college, so.
I got ran over by a car.
I got ran over by a car.
That was my highlight.
So what? I mean, have you been interested in Stan Lee at any point in like your journey with superheroes and comics?
I mean, yeah, I obviously don't know nearly as many facts as you do, but I do know he was obviously more of the spokesperson for Marvel Comics and stuff rather than being like the person who's writing
Yeah.
everything. I do know that his first issued comics wasn't it the Fantastic Four?
I believe so. I believe his first like successful legitimate
that
comic
he
was
he
Fantastic
had a
Four.
part of writing and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and then obviously you have Spider-Man and that whole
Spider-Man was interesting because no one wanted
laughed.
it.
Yeah, everyone laughed in his
Yeah.
face that it was gonna be. Why are we gonna have a superhero that's a kid?
Which,
That's dumb.
when you think
Like-
about it, though, it makes sense why they thought that because, like, no one likes spiders. Like, that's like kind of a universal, like, they're a pest. Every time you see one, you're like, oh, that's gross. Get it out of here.
Yeah,
And it was the same back then. Like, no one liked spiders. So to think of trying to use that as a symbol of hope and justice and fighting for what's right, that it's
well, I mean, I guess
understandable.
I guess it would be the same concept of like Batman. I mean, it's the same thing. Taking
It's
something that you
true.
fear the most and learning how to overcome
It's
that.
true, but that alone is what makes the symbol of the Batman different than the symbol of Spider-Man is the fact that he uses what scares him the most to put the fear
Of others, yeah.
into others. Whereas Spider-Man, he got bit by a spider and
Yeah, I just
his
got
life
bit
changed
by
forever.
a crazy mutated
Yeah.
lab-made spider, and yeah,
So yes, Stan Lee, he worked for Timely Comics, which eventually would become what we now all know as Marvel Comics and the Marvel MCU and all that. A lot of people forget, but I've watched so many documentaries and I love the history of Stan Lee. He obviously worked with Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko. I really hope it was Steve. I may have gotten the name wrong. I really hope not. But those two were like the other two guys that were like the majority of the reason why Marvel Comics blew up, why all the stories were so popular and how they hit home with everybody. And they were the reason that we got such famous heroes such as, Spider-Man, the X-Men, Daredevil, Captain America, and like
Yeah.
you said, Fantastic Four, the first ever issue by Stan. They were some of the reasons why we got such popular stories.
yeah, and it's just like really crazy when you look at it as on a list like we are with our notes and everything. You just realize like, man, these guys, props to them, man. Hats off to them for not only creating such memorable characters that are literally still, I mean, they're used in film today.
Yeah.
Like not only making a character that is timeless like that, but be able to create such a powerful storyline and backstory. Like
Yeah.
to
Something that
intertwine a universe of
inspires people,
other,
yeah.
superheroes and everything. Like it's just so crazy to me that there's such a, and I mean, not to sound cliche, but there's such a spider web of, characters that are all interconnected. And it's like, it's crazy that you have just three primary guys that really
it's changed the
started it
world,
off,
and it's
you know?
changed the world in a very similar, different timelines, obviously, but similar to like how Gilgamesh
Yeah.
and Hercules changed the world. It was these legends and things that people like looked up to and like thought, oh, they're heroes. They fought for what's right, or they fought to help others, and to think that that actually has really stuck around. Do you think people like Spider-Man are timeless the way that Hercules is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would obviously be different just because of like the belief, you
Sure,
know?
sure. There is a big difference there.
There's a difference in belief as far as like believing like what's real, what's not, all that kind of stuff. I think we all know that Spider-Man isn't real, but I think we all also know that anyone can be Spider-Man.
This is true.
Anyone can be someone who cares enough to help others without expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what makes Spider-Man such a timeless character, because he's someone who has been looked down on his entire life for being less than. You know, he's in the MCU, it was, oh, you're just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're just a kid. You can't do it. Why don't you just stay being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Like, there's no reason for you to be doing the most, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how insane it is. He's still willing to throw it all on the line.
He's
just
willing to put everything
just to be
aside
there.
in order to help others. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't even worry about his own needs or wants or cravings, you know?
And to be willing to completely hide yourself, and to completely hide your identity, and to completely really segregate yourself from the people you care about the most because you don't want to hurt them. I mean, that takes such a sacrifice that I think so many
absolutely.
characters that are even on our list don't fit the criteria for. Everyone knows that Steve Rogers is Captain America.
This is
Everyone knows that Logan is Wolverine. Everyone knows like all that kind of stuff. But you have someone who has literally separated his entire life from who he really is to protect people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that will always be a timeless character, because it just shows like the heart of a real, hero.
A real hero, yeah. And I like that you bring up the fact that like anyone can be behind the mask, because I brought a quote, as you know, from Stan Lee, and I wouldn't say it's like one of his most famous quotes, but like it's one that I've always thought about. Like whenever I think of Stan, it's always the quote that my mind goes to. So I was going to read it for us, and it literally goes into what you're saying. He said, one of the greatest things about Spider-Man's outfit, his costume, he is completely covered. So any kid could imagine he's Spider-Man. He could be black under that, he could be red, he could be yellow, he could belong to any race. And that wasn't done purposefully. It was done accidentally. But I think that it was one of the best things we did, making him so that he could be anybody under the costume. And it's true. It's like,
bro, it literally gave me like goosebumps. Like right, like it's almost like I've never seen that quote before, and I've seen it like 80,000 times.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and I think maybe it's more sentimental because I'm currently playing Spider-Man 2 and all that kind of stuff. But I just think of the Miles character of Spider-Man, and I think of, first of all, Sony did a really good job with his story. Like having no movie out, nothing about Miles, and then for them.
did Spider-Verse not come out before Miles was introduced in the games?
Well, no, I think Spider-Verse was out, but I'm saying because it's still Sony that made it.
Oh yeah.
But I'm saying like Sony did such a good job of like, how do we reach where we're at now culturally? How do we reach where people are at now with everything going on like in the world right now, especially like the US, and like all the crazy stuff with gun violence and black on white, crime, all this stuff. Like we've done so much of like the segregating and like hating each other for no reason, to how do we bring all these people together to show that you don't have to be the same as, culturally what has been accepted. I mean, you really, it's crazy how many hidden things there are within like the Miles movies, where it's like, I mean, yeah, it's comic wise, but it applies so much to like what we're going through today. Like we're so scared of taking on a mantle of something that we really don't belong in, or we feel like we don't belong in. And I think Sony did just such a phenomenal job of reinventing a existing character to be like, you don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to do what the other Spider-Man does. You don't have to be anything but you. As long as you're doing like what's right and you're doing the right thing, then that's all that should matter.
Yeah.
And I think that just Sony did a phenomenal job game-wise, movie-wise, and just character-wise. I think they just did such a good job of like really displaying like who Spider-Man is, and it's anybody. That's simply
I
like
totally
who he
agree.
is.
I think Sony really, they really defined how to like tell that story correctly.
Yeah.
Because Miles has been in cinema before. He's been in like some of the old cartoon
his
shows.
His character was what? It was made in 2011, right?
It was fairly recently. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like in the 20s.
Yeah, it's one of the newer Spider-Man, which I think is so crazy that he's one of the newer Spider-Man and he has already made it in the movies.
Well, I think that really just speaks to what Stan was saying. I think that so many people, because like we made in the MCU, obviously there's that big deal where Falcon takes the mantle of Captain America because he's a black man holding the Stars and Stripes, as he said.
Which I love that character arc. I mean, as far as like the show is a little bland, but that storyline just in general, like it really breaks my heart. Like when you really think about like, I could not imagine feeling so insignificant and you're Captain America, dude.
Yeah.
Like, like you're actually
you're standing
like,
for what everything is supposed to be, about, but then
and
you
people
still
care
have
more
people
about
hating
your
you.
skin
Yeah.
than care about the message. And I think that's just such a like crazy and such a crazy accurate. I think that's the one good thing that Marvel did with that show is they didn't stray away from it. They showed it. It's like, these fools are racist.
They were
Like,
honest about it.
I mean, like,
And
how
that's
are you
like-
going to take, the stereotypical blonde hair, blue eyed, all American kid and then change it up? And it showed exactly what would happen in real life. That's
And
exactly what would happen.
I think they both. I think both the MCU with Falcon and Sony with Miles showed how both things can be acceptable, but both things also come with their challenges. Like Falcon, they showed the story of like how it's not going to be easy, being that guy, being the hero who's known as
and just taking the mantle of someone that everybody loves and everyone.
I can't think of the word, impact on society.
Yeah.
But then there's Miles, and Miles it tells a different story, but in the same light, which is that not everyone knows who Spider-Man is, so not everyone's going to know that he's an African American kid, but at the end of the day, the people who do know, they don't bat an eye. They know that he's fighting for at the end of the day, he's fighting for what's right. He's doing exactly what Peter has stood for his whole life.
In his own way. And I think
in his own way. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I just think we could go on about the Spider-Man like franchise just forever. I mean, there's just so much to unpack with every other Spider-Man that's not Peter Parker. First of all, I mean, there's so many. I mean, same with Michael Herrera. I mean,
Hobie's cool too.
Literally the same thing. Hobie. I mean, you have different Spider-Men that don't fit the criteria, quote unquote, of like what the stereotypical Peter Parker Spider-Man is. But it just shows you don't have to be anything but yourself to do what's right. And I think that's
honestly, I would make the argument that I don't even think Spider-Man specifically. Yeah. Because, and especially like Stan said, because he's always been covered skin, like head to toe in the costume, you don't know anything about him. I don't think there's ever been like a, take on what Spider-Man should be as a person or who he is under the mask. Like everyone's just seen Spider-Man and they're like,
it's Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man. Like, he's here to help. Like he's here to save the day. And like, and there's obviously people like in the stories and the fictional tales like J. Jonah, who's just like trying to talk down on him and like make it a whole thing.
Any chance he can
it's
get.
not. It's never been about race. It's always been about actually something that I do want to talk about eventually, which is is being a vigilante, you know, or
yes,
being a
yes.
hero, like the comparing of that. But yeah, Stan Lee really did make a difference that I think will stand the test of time. I don't know if Stan Lee's name will last forever, but I think the legacy that he's left, same with people like Jim Henson and the Muppets, like there are
Oh,
people who
yeah,
just
yeah.
made something that will never die because it was
They will always stand the test of time, like whether it's film wise or written or spoken. I just think there are some people who are born to be remembered, and I personally I do think Stanley will probably be remembered
yeah.
for at least the rest of our lifetime. I don't think there will ever be,
Oh, for
without
sure.
a doubt, that people would forget Stanley this, early on into his passing. And yeah, dude, I mean, just an incredible guy. I mean, I would have loved to like seen him at a Comic-Con and stuff. He was so
I
active.
always dreamed of it.
He
I
was
always
so
dreamed.
active with that, and I would have honestly, out of anything, just would have loved to say thank you, like, for making my childhood,
I
dude.
genuinely
Like,
think that if I met Stan Lee in person, I would be just,
dude, yeah, no,
I would be
literally. I mean,
crying.
I'm literally getting like sad right now thinking about it, dude. It's like, I mean, like, this single-handedly like changed my life. Was
Absolutely.
reading those comics and watching the movies.
I've
and-
said many times that Stan Lee is one of the main reasons I do any of this. You know, like
yeah.
he's not a podcaster, but
But no, like, I
but
mean, got you into animation, got you into the editing,
he stood for creativity and imagination. Like his whole thing was just, and I wish I would have brought that quote. So I'm gonna try and say it, but I'm probably gonna butcher it. But he said,
It's okay. You're
If-
giving like a disclaimer right now.
yeah, he said something along the lines of, if you have an idea that you think is good, then put all of your time and energy into it, because that is what will make a difference. It's the things that when you're like, this is it, go for it. Like make a point to like put everything you have into it, because you'll only know if it'll work and like make out after that if you actually tried. If you just think of an idea that you think is good, but then you're like, but probably everybody else will hate it, then it will die because you'll just accept failure. But if you truly believe in something, strive for it. And I think that's something we're doing right now.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
with the podcast, like we have had so many times where we could have just been like, it's not worth the effort.
Yeah.
But we keep putting in the hours, we keep putting in some of the dollar bills, and
Now that we're making
it's
dollar
getting
bills.
more fun. It's like I've never been so comfortable in a podcast in my entire
Dude,
life.
yeah, I know. I can like just sit here and actually talk.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
My back's not falling off of my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's-
yeah, that's also one of my favorite quotes. Is like, if you have something you believe in, then strive for it.
Yeah. I think that's. I mean, it's like that with everything. Just like, I mean, everyone loves The Office, but Wayne Gretzky did say it before Michael Scott. But you do miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know, if you're so focused on, holding onto the puck, and like obviously like I'm a hockey kid, so I'm gonna relate to it with actual hockey. But it's like if you spend like all your time puck handling and you're spending all your time passing the puck when you have the capabilities to make the goal, like it's only you that's getting in the way of it, and you have to take that chance. And there comes a point where you have to face your fears, because life is scary. Life is probably one of the scariest things you can ever be in, that you don't get a choice to be in. If you spend your whole life in fear, you're not going to do anything. And you're going to be scared the whole time. You're going to regret your life and regret the chances you didn't take simply because you didn't just say yes. But, I mean, Sorry, chat.
We may not have dogs anymore in the background, or Mr.
But we
Cricket
do got
Friend.
airplanes, so that's cool.
I kind of miss Mr. Cricket
I
Friend.
do miss Cricket Friend. He was a paid sponsor. I don't know if anyone knew this, but that Cricket definitely wasn't edited in post. Like
Nope.
he's there. He's there every episode. But
He was one of the members. We had to let him go from
The
the,
original
Woodsmen
crew.
Productions. But,
yeah, money was running a little tight, so couldn't pay the like $10 a chirp, So we
Yeah,
had to cut it down. But I mean, going from comics, we obviously could talk forever about fictitious, like, creations of superheroes. But what are some real life superheroes to you, bro? I mean, there are so many that I think we almost forget about. And you had written a list of just some things and icebreakers for us, but seeing firefighters on there, I think we just sometimes forget like how insane some of these people's jobs are, and they're simply doing it to help other people. Imagine running into a building that's just flames. You can't see anything else but flames, and you're running into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, solely for the purpose of saving the people in that building.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
you're
and
not doing it for the check. You're you know, like...
Well,
like,
you can't do it for the check.
Yeah.
I think the thing that is so important to think about jobs like that, policemen, firefighters, people going to war right now,
yeah.
like, sure, they're probably getting paid big bucks, but, like, you still have a choice. You can choose to go or not. You don't have to have that job. You could be like us and, like, just have some
Yeah.
low-end jobs. And
Could
then
be a garbage man or something, and
exactly,
you could
but
just
you
chill and...
choose to actually fight for others. And I think, like we said with Spider-Man, that's one of the biggest factors of being a hero, is being able to put aside your own, what would you call it? Your own...
I'd say putting aside your own fears and putting
Yeah.
aside the things that you're...
putting aside your own agenda too, like
Yeah.
being able to be like, you know what, I need to put my life on the side for a moment, and I need to put all of my energy into making sure that these people are safe. Paramedics.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Dude. I couldn't imagine being an EMT like down where we live, where people are just wilding out constantly. Like, I just...
And to be able to handle it too, like surgeons. Oh my God, doctors
the
are
pressure,
also
yeah.
like superheroes to me. To be able to like look at a body who has been through the ringer, man, like gotten hit by a car or something, insides are falling out, and you have to be like, all right.
You have to look at it, and you have to sit there and be like,
all right,
okay, let's go.
time to put the gloves on and time to stitch this guy up. We're going to save him. Like, in the moment, and to have that just control of yourself is also super, like, inspiring to me, honestly.
Yeah. To have that mental control over your own body and your own fear, like to sit there and be like, if I panic right now, not only am I gonna, like, go through something, but then this person's gonna go through something.
Mm-hmm.
We could possibly die if I panic, trying to keep that all under control. Like, it takes a very special person, and I think that's part of the reason why people like first responders and anyone in a service type of industry where you're serving the community and you're serving the public, hats off to you, because I
you
couldn't
guys
imagine.
genuinely are the real heroes.
Yeah, and I mean, you think of doctors and stuff, like, through the whole COVID era and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you see pictures of those fools where it's like their faces literally are like caved in from having a mask on for like 15, 16, 17 hours, like a day. Like,
But they still choose to just keep going.
And they do it for the people. They're not doing it for them. They're doing it because,
I'm
people's
sure the
lives are at
paycheck
stake.
helps.
Oh, I'm sure the
but-
paycheck helps. I'm pretty sure the paycheck helps.
But at the end of the day...
But you don't go into that thinking like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor for the paycheck.
Yeah,
No. I just couldn't. I mean, because I couldn't imagine you saying, hey, I'll pay for your schooling to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no.
I couldn't. I could not do it. It takes a very special person, and that special person ain't me. So I'd be like, man, the first sight of a leg bending a way it shouldn't bend, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, bro, sorry.
I saw a video
I'm gonna go
just
throw
the
up.
other day of some dude, and it's always a goddamn skateboarder. But
Always, dude.
It was just one of those, like, dudes was it even? Oh no! You know what it was? It wasn't even a skateboarder. It was a freaking UFC fight, and the guy
Did he kick his leg in and
it's
it freaking?
not that one, but I know what you're talking about. That one's awful.
That one's
I saw a
brutal.
new one.
Oh, no.
Where the guy like picked him up, like, so one guy grabbed the other dude from around his back, holding his hands around his stomach, picked him up. Oops, sorry, chat. Picked him up and kind of just threw him on the ground. As his leg hits the ground, just snaps all the way the wrong way. And when it, like, unbends and he's looking at it and he's like, oh my God, my leg. you can see the bone just sticking out of his leg, and I'm just like, dude, if I was a nurse or a doctor or something, and they were like, you got to fix this guy.
I'm gonna be like, you need to take care of that.
You gotta get
And
that away from me.
And I don't know why you came to me, because I'm about to throw up in the bathroom. Like,
dude. And that,
I'm out here trying to eat my grilled cheese at lunch,
Yeah.
and you're out here with this bone sticking out. Like,
do you also think
talk about boneless legs? Am I right? That boneless chicken.
I was gonna ask, one or two.
One.
Do you think? What do you think of parents being considered heroes?
I mean, I think that's like a stereotypical answer that a lot of people give, at least if you come from a good home.
I understand the
You
good
know,
home argument, but
but,
like,
I
here's
mean,
why I ask.
I think parents could definitely be your hero for sure. Are they mine? My mom is.
But that's
you
what I
know.
mean. I obviously I'm not talking about people like, Head McGee,
Yeah.
who is your dad and who just decided to like
I
dip
love that.
and never came back with the milk. But
Yeah, dude, not even 2%, bro.
I
Came
mean,
back with
people
none.
like your mom, the parents who actually decide like, you know what, through thick and thin, I'm gonna have to get this kid through life.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's
You're giving up your freedom. You're giving up
Yeah.
your whole life for another human being. And
being a parent is probably the most not rewarded jobs you could ever have, yet like probably one of the most fulfilling jobs you could ever have. I don't know. I'm not a parent, but that's what my parent friends tell me. But I mean, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of sleepless nights. It takes a lot of crying. It takes a lot of. It just takes a lot, dude. It takes a lot to be a parent.
It takes almost everything.
You know, I don't think you really realize how thankful you are for your parents, at least your good ones, until you get older and you just realize how hard life is in general. And you realize that your parents are just us trying to figure it out.
Yeah, no, and
You
that's
know,
a realization you have when you get to, like, I would say a little younger than we are. Like, when you get to around the age of 20 years old, I would say 19 kinda, but I would say really when you hit 2 decades worth of life, you really start to realize, oh, they were here. They were where I am now.
Yeah.
And they chose to give it up.
Yeah.
As much as
Yeah.
we talk about how hard life is and how we want all these things, I don't want to give up what I have now for just this little
For
twerp.
this thing that I have to like
Yeah.
feed and listen to
I can
cry.
barely feed my dogs, man.
I can barely feed myself. I mean, dude, like honestly, it's a struggle, bro. Like I struggle sometimes, man. Like
Yeah, no.
And you're telling me I
definitely
gotta
don't
be in
struggle to feed
charge of-
myself, clearly, but
I mean, I wasn't gonna say it. Hey, so how's your diet going?
God, I shouldn't have brought it up. I knew it was coming. Here's the thing. Listen, chat.
You're supposed to do this how many months ago?
Only a month ago, I bought it for 2024.
No, I'm talking. You've been talking about losing weight way before.
Oh, yeah, but the method I'm trying to implement has only been a month in that I haven't done anything for.
So you're just throwing money away, or?
No, I'm not. I don't have a good excuse, clearly. But I do want to change.
I want to change.
No, I do, man. If we're going to, take a breather on the superhero topic for a second to get into this, I am so tired of being fat. And it's like, it's funny as it sounds, like genuinely I'm getting to a point where I think I've gone past the whole seeing yourself in a mirror and knowing it's time. I think I've gone past that to the point where now I'm just sad and I'm tired and I'm like angry at what my body's doing to me. Like it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, buddy, I'm in pain and I'm just sitting here.
I am out of breath and I've been
Yeah.
sitting in this chair for 3 hours. Like,
And it's like that's so ridiculous to be at a point, and I totally understand that, and I hate that I keep dropping the ball. I really do hate it. So I want to change. I do. I just, God, this last week was It was busy, but that's not a good enough argument. It genuinely, if I can make enough time for this podcast, I can make enough time to make change.
I mean, hey, man.
No kind words. You're just like, yeah, you should.
No. I mean, we have talked on and off camera and on and off mic for a very long time about the whole weight thing. And, you know, you just have to want it. You know, I mean, it's one thing saying you want it, but it's another thing just like, I just got to do it.
It's like we were
I
talking
mean, it's
about
not
just
easy.
a second ago.
It's
We were
definitely
talking
not
about
easy,
how
but
if you want to make something, if you
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, dude.
or as The Rock would say, he probably didn't come up with it, but as The Rock would say,
It's about drive. It's about power.
no. He
We stay
says,
hungry. Yeah, ain't that the truth?
One day or day one. That's what he says.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay, Mr. The Rock.
one day
I see
or
you.
day one. That's how you got to look at life. So
That's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's true. You just have to. One day you'll just wake up and you'll do it.
yeah.
I mean, I know that sounds very cliche, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you know, maybe for you," but like, I mean, one day you just get fed up of seeing the person in the mirror. You just one day get fed up with like, why am I eating this? Why am I eating right
But
now?
that's
I'm not
what
even
I'm
hungry.
trying to say is like
You know,
that's
like,
why
there's-
I'm sad that I'm not actually making more of an effort because genuinely it has gotten so bad. I'm getting real now. It's gotten so bad that like I hate eating, but I still do it.
Yeah.
Every time I have a meal, I literally think the most god awful things about myself. It doesn't even matter if it's healthier. Like sometimes my parents will make some like nice rice and shrimp, mushroom type of like
Yeah,
relatively
yeah,
healthy
good.
meal.
Yeah.
But like and when I'm eating it, I'm just sitting there like you fat piece of crap. Like you just
Yeah.
and you don't deserve love. Like I'll start going real hard.
Dang, bro is just going
and
through
like
it.
and that's just like so here's the thing. I'm going to make a promise that by the next episode, I will, at the very least, start the workout process because it's just a 3-month thing. So whatever day one is, I just have to stick to that. I'm not going to guarantee the food yet just because I have to like work out how the whole buying it and getting all the ingredients for everything I need for is going to go. But I will guarantee that even if it's the goddamn day before the podcast, I will start the process and continue it. That is a promise for the Woodsmen. For chat, I promise chat that
Yeah, don't promise me. Promise chat.
I promise chat right now that like by
chat
the
is trying
next
to see.
episode,
Chat is trying to see your transformation, bro.
yeah,
All 16 to 19 viewers.
all of them.
All of them. Every single one of them. Can count you all on my hands and toes, but all of y'all, this is for you.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, we
all
appreciate
10
you.
of our toes. We appreciate
Those are for you. Those grippers, they're set aside just for you.
All right. Well, let's get back into the swing of things. We've talked about my weight, and I promise I will start the workout by next week. But back into superheroes and the whole point of this conversation, I want to talk about specifically what makes a hero a hero. And basically, I figure we could maybe end on what you and I think makes a hero a hero.
Yeah.
But to get there, I wrote a couple questions that I think are some of the most common, like hard to answer questions, you know. And so I want to start with an easy one is the Sokovia Accords. If you're familiar with the MCU, there was definitely something in it in Civil War that happened in the comics, but in the MCU it happened. Was that Civil War?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was Civil War. Anyway, I'm just an idiot. But basically the idea was that superheroes need to be put in check, that the government needs to run them, and that any time they have to go and fight a big bad, it's with the okay from the US government. And certain heroes thought that was taking away their freedom of being able to stop a threat if they're like I can't remember which person on the team said it in the movie, but they were like, what if they need us to go somewhere but we're needed elsewhere, Or like, what if they tell us to go somewhere that we shouldn't go to? It's just like they wouldn't have the choices that they had as being on their own. What are your thoughts on the Sokovia Accords?
You know, for a while I agreed with them because I was
Really? I've never agreed with them.
yeah,
That's interesting.
Because for a while I was like, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it honestly makes sense, especially if you're gonna go comic wise. Because I'm gonna go by comics before I'm gonna go by MCU.
Okay.
Some crazy stuff happens in the comics that definitely could have been avoided if there were just communication between any government. I think things could have been avoided with certain, individuals either getting killed or like, just people getting killed in collateral damage and all that kind of stuff. So for a while I agreed with it, but I think as I've gotten older, I have started to realize like our government is so messed up now in real life. How are you going to tell me that there's not going to be a political gain by having control over the most powerful superhumans in the world?
That's why I've always disagreed with it, is because I think when you put...
Because then you're just weaponizing people.
You're weaponizing people. You're totally getting rid of the whole reason Spider-Man's,
Well, you're getting rid of the whole reason why Tony Stark is Iron Man. I mean, the whole point was to destroy the weapons that were destroying people for no reason. That was literally the whole point. And now you're going to take that person and say, you're only allowed to fight when we tell you to.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're using a weapon to take out your intended targets.
At the end of the day, it's for your own benefit.
Yeah. They're literally hired assassins at that point. And then you get into, what we were talking about before, what the difference is between a hero and a hired hand. I mean, you have Deadpool. It's the same thing. I mean, he's a contract assassin. He's not a superhero.
Yeah, no.
Does he do good things to help people in certain points? Every once in a while, but majority of the time, if he's not getting paid, he's not doing it. And I think it comes to a point where if we're going to have a government power or a higher power involved in what I can and can't do when all I'm trying to do is help, then that's where it muddies the water. And to me, you're just a hired weapon at that point. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But I've always kind of thought that. I don't think I've ever truly been on the side of having the Sokovia Accords be set in place.
Yeah.
But I think that's just, like I said, it's all mainly due to the reason that superheroes are widely known as being heroes is because they fight for what's right, even if it's not what some people consider to be right. And that is, it is a gray, space of like what is right and wrong. But overall, like in the most cliche versions of stories of superheroes, like most of the time, the hero makes the right choice. It's not being told what the right choice is.
Yeah. No, and that totally makes sense. And I just think it's just crazy that, if this were happening now, if this was real life, that's exactly how it would turn out. It would definitely be,
in today's world, yeah, there would...
How can we weaponize this person or this individual or, I mean, it's always about weaponizing. It's always about like, hey, if we can have the upper hand against our enemies, bro, then they're not going to do anything to us. So let's display this crazy amount of power and do some crazy stuff. And then you get into what we're going through now, except just with superhuman people.
Yeah.
So in that perspective, with the Sokovia Accords and everything, do you think it's right or wrong for a hero and or vigilante to cover their face to hide who they are, to get them out of trouble?
It's an interesting question because we spent so much time talking about how Spider-Man is like such a beautiful idea because anybody can be behind the mask.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you think about it more as a vigilante sort of thing, like how, one of the easiest ones that I think you could like argue could be bad is Batman, because no, he doesn't kill, but like he is very brutal and he really does like he handles the situation.
He does handle the situation. Well, I think on a legal stance, Batman's pretty in a gray area.
Yeah.
Because he's out here tapping into police, security, everything. I mean, he has tapped into all security cameras around the world, or around Gotham City, like all that kind of stuff. That's a little much. But at the same time, he's also working with the police.
It's true. And it's also hard, too, when you think of things like Spider-Man, because one of the reasons he covers his face is so that he can protect the ones he loves. Yeah. Mary Jane Watson.
I think it's all in
Aunt May.
I think it's all on intent.
Yeah, that's true. Because, like, in the comics, in the MCU, I actually learned that one of the reasons, I don't know if you knew this, one of the reasons that Iron Man's identity is known, obviously, is because at the end of the movie he says, "I am Iron Man." That was Robert Downey Jr. just did that on his own.
Yeah, it was impromptu.
Yeah. And so originally the story was going to go a lot more like the comics, where he's just secret identity, vigilante in the mask, and goes around saving the day.
Billionaire playboy, just fighting crime by night.
And people, I think, like Iron Man, use the mask more as like a... flaunting it, trying
it's more of a symbol. It's more of like, it's obviously you know who I am, this is who I represent, and there's no way you can touch me.
Yeah, it's more like kind of
it's an ego thing. It's an ego thing. Yeah. Spider-Man's is purely on protecting. There's ego type. There's I think it all is based on just your intent and like what you plan on using the mask for. And I think that's part of the reason why J. Jonah Jameson is such a hateable character, because us as the audience knows the intent, yet he blindly follows the complete opposite of what Spider-Man is about. And that that just shows you the realness of people's character in real life. I mean, it's the same thing. You could have someone save your life exactly like Peter does, I don't know how many times in the comics, or in the shows, or in the movies, the amount of times he saved J. Jonah Jameson, yet he still cannot accept the fact that Spider-Man is there to protect. So, I mean, it really just shows you the real life, the duality between, fact and fiction.
Yeah. And so that's like what I'm saying. I think it's really hard to define if it's right or wrong. I think if I had to pick, it's okay to have a secret identity, because I understand the logistic of trying to protect those you love. But if superheroes really existed, I don't think secret identities would be happening. I think the FBI or some big, powerful organization would be able to find whoever the hero is and be able to be like, you're going to have to make yourself accountable, or we're putting an end to this,
Yeah. And then at that point, what's the government going to do against a Hulk?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You could say, you could give me whatever rules you want, but it's just funny. It's funny trying to figure out what would happen in real life, because it just would not work out at all. It would just be okay. I'm just done. Hulk won, dude, you're gone. You don't even exist.
No, it's hard to kind of define which parts of the argument are right or wrong. That's one of the hardest parts about being a hero, is deciding specifically what is right and what is wrong, because at the end of the day, you're the one deciding it.
Yeah.
Do you think you've heard of the trolley problem?
Yeah, many times. I already know what I would do. I already know.
Oh, for you, if you had to make the choice, okay. Before we talk about heroes making a choice, let's talk about.
I am a hero.
You're my hero, but
exactly.
Okay, fine. You know what? It checks out. So, what would you do?
I would just stop and turn around, hit a U-turn.
Okay,
and
but
just
let's really define this right now. Are you being real, or are you kind of making a bit, or both?
I mean,
because here's the thing: that is a valid option that some people choose.
Yeah, I feel
some people, if they are met with a decision that is impossible to make, they'll just
don't make that decision.
Yeah,
let someone else make it. That's what I always say. Let someone else do it.
So you would never be a superhero.
No, I would. It just, if it came down to like me having to either kill one person or kill five, I just, it's
Well,
not
what
up
if
to
it's
me.
not even
It's
that?
not up to me to decide that.
There are other versions of the trolley problem, though. There's also like, let's say you're a superhero, right? Let's just say you're Spider-Man.
I am.
I know.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say.
Oh,
Cut. But let's say you're Spider-Man and you're about to, and some big bad villain has captured your girlfriend and your mom, and both of them are hanging over a big thing of lava, and they're both descending slowly, and you only have enough time to save one. That's another trolley problem. How do you decide to choose one or the other?
You don't choose any of them.
You just let them both
You
die.
just like, all right, guys, sorry, I can't play favorites.
So you're sticking with this argument. You really would just be like, that's it. I'm out.
I'll let someone else make the decision, man.
They're
I'm good.
gonna die. That's the whole point.
Okay, but do you want on your conscience one living over the other?
No, I don't want it on my conscience.
And it's you. You're the reason why the other person's dead.
I get that, but at the end of the day, I'm also the reason that the other person's alive.
So then what would you choose?
In the trolley or the mom and girlfriend?
The mom and girlfriend. I'll let someone else decide.
It's hard to say because I'm not with someone right now.
Who's
but
to
I'm
say?
but I'm gonna give you my real answer. I don't know if I could let my mom die. As much as, and it would depend. If I'm like married to someone, maybe I'll have a harder time. But like if I'm just like let's say Kaylee, right?
Oh, okay. We're going back down that road.
But I'll go back into my mind as a 14-year-old kid who's like madly in love and his wildest dreams are coming true, and all of a sudden now she has a gun to her head and a gun to my mom.
Like, oh, no.
Shoot Kaylee. Let her die. Let her bleed out.
Well,
I want my mom. No, I'm saying back then, even
okay.
then.
Okay.
But if me and like Kaylee were married or something, and like, or anybody, if I was
like,
married,
ooh.
listen, Mom, you had a good run. You taught me everything.
How long do you expect to survive after this? Like
you only have like 20 years tops.
Like come on, Mom. Like let me live my life.
I think it's hard because the trolley problem, the whole point of it is that it's supposed to be an impossible question. So I understand the idea of just being like, I'm gonna let someone else decide.
I just think it's just a problem that doesn't really work out for anybody. I mean, like you can ask this problem to anybody, and then once you're faced with the decision, it'll be a completely different thing, you know? So to me, that problem will never stick out for me, even with heroes too doing it. Well, if you're a real life hero, then you're going to make the decision. I don't think I'm a real life hero, so I'm not tasked with that incredible decision.
So I'm going to walk back and I'm going to go to Baskin Robbins and forget about my problem.
The Cherries Jubilee will be in my cone. That is,
Yep.
Well, since that problem goes horribly wrong every time, we have one more problem. Or not problem, but we have another question. This one I'm actually very excited for. But was Thanos justified by the snap?
So it's interesting. When I was looking into this, I didn't realize. I swear I knew, but I actually forgot that Thanos in the movies had a completely different reasoning for Thanos in the comics.
Oh,
in the comics, Thanos, I totally don't agree with. Because it was literally just wiping out half the universe was all a ploy to get Death to fall in love with him.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
It was all a show.
I did not.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically like taking the whole TVA timeline, like the original one, where Kang literally just becomes ruthless because she won't go out with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in the movies, obviously, it's a much harder question because everybody likes to.
Movie-wise, I agree.
Is he justified? I do agree.
Especially with the Earth right now, like we are very overly populated.
Yeah.
I get it.
But is the execution justified? Is the idea justified? I think so. Is the execution? I'm not sure if I can agree.
It's justified.
The whole universe, all living organisms, half of it gone.
Well, I mean, I guess in that perspective, no. But like to us, we only know the Earth. So I'm gonna say Earth-wise, yeah.
But you don't know who goes and who lives.
And that's the most fair you can go. There is no favoritism.
Yeah.
There is no anything. It's just okay, whoever goes. That's it.
It's so hard though, man. Like
I'm surprised you have to think about it. I've never had to think about it. Even when we watched the movie, I was like, I get it.
Don't get me wrong.
I get it.
Like I said, the idea is justified to me. So
would it be a sacrifice? For sure, because then you don't know who's gonna go. But at the same time, it's like, would I want to choose that, or do I want to be fair?
When you think about it, Thanos
could have gone.
No, not even. Well,
he could have been snapped out of existence. He never said that he would keep himself alive. He just said he's going to blip half the universe. And by all theories, that would make sense because Tony snapped and he died. The only reason Hulk survived was because of the gamma.
Oh my God.
Thanos could have easily been wiped out just like everyone else.
How did I never think of that?
He never once said, and I'm talking MCU logic because, again, in the comics, I'm not really well-versed on the Thanos side of the comics, but in the MCU, he never once talks about, oh, everyone's going to die so I can live. I mean, it was never once anything about him. He never says that,
but there is a conversation he has with Gamora when he captures her from Quill, where she's like, what are you going to do after this is all over? And he's like, I'm going to sit home. And I'm going to rest and, breathe in the new universe.
Yeah.
Which, makes it kind of seem like he hoped he would live. But I until you said what you just said, I always thought that he said that in the idea of like he expects to live, not that he hopes to live. That's putting it into that perspective. If you're willing to sacrifice half the universe knowing you could also be one of the ones gone, then I kind of understand it more.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think, like, if you're going by MCU justification, yeah, I see it. For sure.
So here's a question, though. With this version of Thanos doing it for his own reasons, since we both agree that it's justified, is Thanos a hero?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because, and here's my argument. We always say Spider-Man, Captain America, they're fighting for the little guy. They're fighting so that they can have a better life and that they're putting away their own thoughts and admirations and things.
Well, I would say at that point, yeah.
Yeah?
I would say, yeah. He's a hero to the universe.
You heard it here first, folks. Thanos was a hero. He was right all along.
I mean...
Yeah,
he's right. I mean,
it's tough.
I mean, because I'm thinking of it as like our life now. We are heavily overpopulated. We don't have the means to survive. Obviously, you can see with minimum wage being $20 an hour and everything still being too expensive to live. Obviously, we can't hang with this many people being alive. Maybe some people got to go.
Yeah, but at the same time, dog, he also, before he had the stones, would just go to planets and kill half of them.
To get the stones. He had to...
Not all of the planets.
He
killed Gamora's planet, just all of them halfway, because he also was...
He did the half thing.
I know he did the half thing, but there's a difference between just making them all disappear into dust.
And then killing half the population.
With guns and murder?
It's the same thing. It's just done differently.
There's a difference between murder and being wiped from existence.
No, but he didn't wipe them from existence. He only killed half of them.
By wiping them from existence.
Half of them from existence.
But that's what I'm saying. And
he didn't wipe them from existence. He just killed them. Technically, the snap wiped them from existence. And he technically didn't do the murdering.
You're right on that one, too.
he got people who agreed with the system. He's like, hey, here's how it's going to go. We're lining these people up. This side you're going to kill. That's it. I mean, there was no, I mean, I know it sounds brutal, but it's like, I mean, it's no different than the snap. He did not choose any favorites besides Gamora. That was the only person he showed any favoritism
something I was going to
towards.
say, though, is that even though he has shown favoritism in Gamora,
he also killed her.
He chose to kill her. He chose to, like, sacrifice her.
That's what I mean.
And he cried.
So it's like...
He cried when he did it. That's the part where I'm truly like, oh... So he's really doing this for the purpose of
for the end goal. Yeah, for the end game. That's literally what he was doing it for, was the end game.
Wild.
I mean, I'm sure he didn't care when Thor killed him. I don't think, I mean, he didn't fight back. He just,
it's true.
Like, all right, I guess this is it. Like, I mean, there was no... I'm doing this for me. I did not see anything about what Thanos was doing was a selfish act. I just saw it as, I mean, I get the vision. I mean, I could also get the vision on why the Avengers were trying to stop him. But morally, I don't see him being in the wrong.
That's interesting.
Because, I mean, because you have to look at, like, his points. The whole point of him doing it is, he said, to further life.
Yeah, no, and so that's why it's a tough call, because
he's seen as a villain because he was the only one willing to do what he had to do. Like, so yeah.
I guess with
so
that,
Thanos not a villain, bro. Sorry.
Let's maybe end on what we think makes a hero.
Oh man, dude. There are quite a bit of things.
Because I think we both made our own closing statements. We both have our own take.
We did. We'll even read them too.
Yeah. I think it would be good. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Right.
So I said a hero is someone who, at all odds, is willing to risk everything to not only do the right thing, but to risk everything with no expectation of getting anything back in return. So heroes are those who step up to the plate when no one else can, or when no one else will.
And I like that. I like that
Thanos.
It's well. Why would we do Thanos right before this? Because you're right. He would step up to the plate when no one else would do it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You're right though. No, I totally agree with your statement. I think that it's when no one else is willing to put their foot down and like make a difference.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, to make that stand. To make that, like, even if it's a moral stance or if it's a physical, like, stance of I got to step up and I got to be the leader here. I think it just takes a person to be willing to step out of that comfort zone, to step out of their complacency to further the other people, and to be able to further the well-being of other people.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. For my take, I said a hero is made by holding on to the idea of human nature. A hero puts away his biases and chooses to fight for others rather than for themselves. They choose to stand up against all odds and use compassion, honor, love, and truth to do what is right. I think one of the reasons I went with that is because, as much as it's kind of hard to debate it, I think most people know right and wrong. Yeah. Every person in the world knows at the end of the day, like, murdering this child is probably not a good idea. But
well, people aren't inherently bad.
No. It takes either, a corrupt mind, something broken inside you, trauma. It takes something really hard in your life to be able to go to such a dark place to be a villain. But I think everyone is capable of knowing what it takes to be a hero. And so I think it really, to tie it kind of back to the beginning, is I think that's what really Captain America has shown a lot, is that he's able to tap into what I consider to be the best of human nature,
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But I think that's kind of why I think that's because I think honestly both of our takes together is truly what makes a hero. Is you know,
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
trying to
honestly.
like speak up for like we totally nailed it, but I think
But we totally nailed
we
it.
totally did.
Yeah. You know.
No, yeah.
Just saying, if we were superheroes, we'd be good ones, but, you know.
I wouldn't. I totally would have to. I would kill the 5 or the not the 5. I would kill the one person in order to save the 5 in the trolley. Whereas you would just be like, I'm out.
Yeah, I'll let someone else handle it. I'll let like the firefighters get their like the well, what is it, the ladder truck, and they can
The ladder truck.
yeah, they can deal with it, dude. The ladder truck.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that thing.
Well, there you go.
Well, this has been a great
There you
episode
go,
of the Woodsmen podcast. So Thanos is the real hero, and anyone who says anything different, you're wrong.
And
Simply,
anyone can be Spider-Man.
anyone could be Spider-Man, even Thanos.
Even Thanos could be Spider-Man.
Yeah, man,
This is
dude.
true.
Whether you're black, white,
Purple,
purple, red,
weird bald,
yeah,
ball skin.
weird ball sack chin. Yeah, dude. Anyone could be Spider-Man.
Well, to wrap up, I realize, just now that, well, actually, before I get into that, I originally was going to do a thing as a surprise at the end of this episode, but then I realized that it would require my phone, which currently, if Chad doesn't know, that's what we use for our cameras. So
nice.
what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say it out loud as what the surprise is and let you react to it. When we finish this podcast, I was going to do it on air, but obviously I can't right now. When we finish this podcast, I'm going to hit purchase on the body of the camera. Not the lens yet, not the battery grip that I'm also going to get for it, but I'm going to officially hit purchase for the body camera. The Blackmagic.
Yo, what?
I'm going to do it. And I'm really nervous about it. I'm really scared.
That's a big purchase, bro.
It's a big boy one, but I'm really excited, and I'm really excited to use it for this.
It's going to be so good.
And so I really wanted to tell you on the podcast.
Dude, let's go. Let's go. Dude, Chad, we've been talking about this camera for a minute.
Long time.
Like, for a while.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
So I'm hoping by my
Heck
next
yeah.
paycheck, I'll get the lens and I'll get the battery grip for it, because the battery grip literally extends the life like 2 times more than it.
That would be nice.
Like, I could be wrong on the stats, but if I'm correct in my research, it does about 50 minutes worth of battery life on its own, and then with the battery grip, it'll do
Nice.
like 2.5 hours. So that'll be
Hell
pretty fun,
yeah.
and it'll be great to use for this. And so
Yeah.
new things coming, chat. Like,
Yes, sir. You already know, man.
but with that being said, what I was gonna say is we can't really do the tradition.
Yeah.
So we can either just give the plate to you to do the next episode topic, or we could do like rock, paper, scissors or something. But like,
No, you can give it to me. I already have a topic.
okay, cool. Oh,
Yeah.
and that's perfect timing because I think your phone just died. So I'm going to keep it on me, chat. It's been a good episode. Brent will pick the next episode
That's
topic.
right.
Appreciate you.
Love you.
We've been your hosts, Joey Rucker.
And Brent Murphy.
See you later, chat.
Later, Gators.
The Woodsmen podcast is co-produced by Brent Murphy and Joey Rucker.
Engineered by Brent Murphy and edited by Joey Rucker.
Additional editing by Brent Murphy and blood, sweat, and tears by the both of us.
Any content by the Woodsmen podcast may not be used without our permission.